The Dark Wolverine, Daken, is one of the best villains and occasionally anti-hero mutants that we have in the comics. Wolverine's son is known as being the iconic bisexual bad boy who doesn't apologize for who he is or what he does, even when it means he has blood on his hands. He's gorgeous, ingenious, devious, and he always gets what he wants. Or well, most of the time he gets what he wants. Today we're going to examine just how Daken does that as we count down the top 10 superpowers you didn't know Daken had. Because he's so much more than just Wolverine's son when it comes to his powers and abilities. If you love the sassy bad boy Daken as much as I do, be sure to show some of that love by giving this list a thumbs up. And be sure to stick around till the end of this list where I will have some bonus content coming your way. Alright, let's get counting. Number 10. Slowed aging. Despite being born in 1946 to his parents Logan and Wolverine's wife Itsu, Daken barely looks a day over 25. In reality he is almost mid-70s, but he certainly doesn't look it. This seems like an obvious power in truth. I mean, Wolverine obviously is over 100 years old, so shouldn't surprise us that his son is also almost ancient. However, we also all think of Daken as being Wolverine's son, and therefore just think of him as being like super young, like being the younger Wolverine. I actually forgot myself just how old he is when I was writing this list. So just because he looks and often acts quite young doesn't mean that he is. It is likely that his lifespan will echo that of his father, meaning that he'll likely live well beyond 100. Who's ready for the Old Man Daken series? I bet he'll still be as sassy and broody as he is now. Probably also still look 25. He'll just be like 25 with white hair. Number 9. Built-in Muramasa Blade. The Muramasa Blade is known for its exceptionally devastating properties. It can cancel out the regeneration or healing factor of those it comes into contact with and is tough enough to cut through adamantium. Basically, it's the blade you want if you're going to fight with Wolverine. In Daken's case though, he wanted to use it in a fight against Romulus. He ended up getting a piece of the blade following a fight against Cyclops and the X-Men. Cyclops had been guarding the blade at the time. Once he had it in his possession, Daken took the blade to the Tinkerer with the purpose of having it melted down and attached to his claws. More specifically his one wrist claw. Of course, this needed to be a delicate procedure given that Daken himself could be harmed by the metal of the blade, because you know, he's also got a healing factor. As such, the Muramasa was not properly anchored to Daken's claws, because it was kind of a rush job and because it's kind of a hard job to do. Meaning that when Wolverine came after Daken to stop him, it was easier for him to do so. Wolverine broke both of Daken's arms and was able to remove the built-in Muramasa blade from him. Daken also gets his arms broken a lot. Still, it was pretty insane for a few issues when Daken had the power of the Muramasa blade literally embedded in him, or rather sort of like on him. Number 8. Master Martial Artist. Daken was trained by Cyber, aka Silas Burr, who currently goes by the alias of Hornet. Burr trained Daken at the camp that he was placed in by Romulus after he'd been taken in by the villain following the accidental destruction of his adopted family by Daken's own hands. Long story. This boot camp located in Canada was the same one his father Wolverine had trained at. Daken was trained there for 9 months and was considered Burr's most promising student that he had ever trained. Daken was then ordered by Romulus to destroy the camp and kill everyone within it. He complied, but as he was about to finish the job and kill Burr, Romulus appeared and ordered Daken to spare Burr, whom he claimed he had plans for. It was this superior training that would later be key to Daken's abilities to defeat skilled hand-to-hand combatants later in life, like the Punisher, whom he successfully defeated with his claws and fighting skills, despite the fact that Frank Castle was actually armed at the time. Yeah, he had like a bunch of guns. The fight ended with Daken as the Dark Avengers Wolverine decapitating and dismembering the Punisher. Number 7. Emotional Manipulation. Daken has the ability to secrete pheromones which allow him to manipulate his opponent's emotions. He can make you feel depressed, happy, erratic, anxious, sad, or even calm you mid-fight. I wonder who that could be super useful against. Calming one down. You guessed it, the Hulk, or more specifically in regards to my example here, the Hulk's son Scar. Daken used this technique on Scar mid-fight, causing the big green guy to sit down and talk with him and then change back into his human form. He almost kills Scar as a result, at Scar's own behest while in human form. Fortunately, Banner and Logan bust in and put a stop to this. Logan's like, I told you my son was wily, I told you. He's a troublemaker, that Daken. Number 6. Samurai. Wolverine was trained as a samurai, and though he and Daken are very different people, it appears this skill did not skip a generation when it comes to Daken. Not that it's like inherited, but you know what I mean. In Dark Wolverine issue 76, Norman Osborn questions Daken about his skills, asking him if he too was trained in the ways of a samurai, like his father. He answers that in fact he was, and that he also happens to be a skilled archer as well, adding that ability of marksman to his long list of capabilities when it comes to fighting. Because you know, samurai are also trained in archery. Fun fact, in case you didn't know that. Number 5. Telepathic Resistance. You might have guessed this would be on the list. I mean, if you've seen a lot of my other superpower lists revolving around mutants, you definitely were probably expecting this one. But you still might be surprised because, you know, it's not what one imagines when they initially think of Daken's abilities. Daken's side defense abilities were so strong, as a matter of fact, that he was able to use them to rebound an attack on his mind from a young Jean Grey, throwing it right back at her, causing her to momentarily lose control of her abilities and attack her teammates. It's like a side blast outward at them. That's pretty cool though, if you can like use it against, even though it was a young Jean Grey at all, I feel like a side defense that's a strong side defense. In my mind. Number 4. Undetectable Strike. You might have noticed that Daken seems to have a remarkable skill when it comes to landing blows on his enemies before they even seem to notice him. While he is pretty fast when it comes to his reflexes and reaction time, it turns out that the speed behind his attack doesn't actually have to do with super speed. No. It's more of a learned technique. While fighting Deadpool in Wolverine Origins, he explains to Wade just exactly how this apparent superpower works. It isn't about being invisible or being super fast, it's actually about simply being where his opponent can't see, coming at your opponent from a vantage point which they themselves can't anticipate. It's a pretty cool superpower, because he definitely hits people when like they do not see it coming at all. He's also done it when he seems to be in someone's line of sight, so I don't know what that means. I guess he's like knows where your eyes are. Number 3. Mask his scent. Despite not being at an Omega level when it comes to his pheromone powers, Daken can actually use his pheromone powers to also hide himself when he wants to remain hidden. We all know how good of a tracker Wolverine is, and with Daken's senses heightened as well, he has also inherited his father's gift for tracking. But unlike his father, he can also mask his scent, making him an especially good hunter and tracker in the sense that he actually can't be tracked himself while he's tracking you. So it would be hard for anyone to know that Daken was actually on their trail, and it would be equally hard for someone to hunt him. Pheromones. They're more than just emotion manipulation. Fun fact. Number 2. Energy Klaus. Energy Claws. While Daken was the Horseman of Death, he was granted some bonus powers from the Celestial Death Seed, which resurrected him. Oh yeah, before he was the Horseman of Death, he died. Better yet, it was Wolverine who killed him. Yeah, I think he drowned him in a puddle actually. I know, it's pretty surprising. A lot of family drama between those two. One of the powers the Death Seed granted Daken was Enhanced Claws. The best way to describe them is Energy Claws. They were imbued with some kind of dark, necrotic, or celestial energy, and his new Energy Claws appeared to be more durable and allow him to infect others with the energy that they emit. Weirder still, sometimes they still kind of show up. He sometimes still has Energy Claws. It's really random though. Number 1. Master Manipulator. Beyond being the king of sass and insanely skilled fighter and being armed with his claws, healing, and pheromone powers, Daken is also an evil genius. He's manipulated some of the best and even double-crossed those who thought they had his loyalty, proving that Daken is always out for himself, taking what he wants when he wants it with no apologies to anyone that he has to manipulate in order to get his way. Such a bad boy. Such a bad boy. He has manipulated Norman Osborn, outsmarted Reed Richards, and even used the Fantastic Four, Avengers, and X-Men in a play against one another. When it comes to devious plans, Daken proves time and time again in the comics why he's just simply one of the best. Also, you know, if you're like double crossing Norman Osborn, you're just like, I don't know, you're like a master manipulator. You don't mess with Norman Osborn. Unless you're Spider-Man. Thank you so much for watching, Nerd Squad. I hope you learned something new to help you appreciate and respect the witty mutant that is Daken, aka Dark Wolverine, and at one point Akahiro. Do you prefer Daken as an anti-hero or villain? What are some of your favorite Daken moments? Who do you prefer when it comes to Wolverines, X-23, Daken, or Logan? Let us know in the comments below. And speaking of comments, it's time to turn to some comments for one of our latest videos, Top 10 Superpowers You Didn't Know Sabretooth Had. Collins Roberto Kaya Garcia Herman comments, Wolverine had soared to popularity before Hugh Jackman. It was Jackman who soared to popularity because of the Wolverine character. I dunno, bub. I would say that they both helped each other out. Jackman literally changed how Wolverine was written and drawn in the comics. His take on the hero actually changed the character within the comics, and I think it brought Wolverine to a kind of mainstream popularity that he didn't have before, and that rivals some of the most well-known superheroes of our time, including Batman, Wonder Woman, and Spider-Man. He became the poster boy for X-Men. Before Jackman took on the character, he was just kind of like squat, hairy, and he was known in the comics for being irrational and annoying to other characters. He was a very different guy, although I definitely appreciate all those who were fans of him before the films happened. That is some deep Wolverine fandom, and I love it. And I respect it. So touche, in your own way. Felipe Rezende Crispy says, I love him in Age of Apocalypse. Oh my gosh, me too. And Blink! Seriously, one of the best things in AOA. Gimme dem exiles, gimme dem exiles. And that's all the time we have for comments today. Be sure to comment below for a chance to have your thoughts shouted out in a future list. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I'm your host Amanda McKnight, reminding you to stay nerdy, YouTube. The Dark Wolverine Daken. Gonna say it right, not gonna mess it up. If you love the sassy bad boy Daken as much as I do, f this stupid hair. Pew pew pew. What is happening? My hair just wants to go into my lipstick. Stop it. Stop it, hair. Now we do things. My hair is like wanting to go into my mouth. Like it's all like, rah. Maybe cut that part out where I sound super awkward. I don't know. Or leave it. I don't know. What do people like? Can you hear my stomach? It's like growling a lot. Chris, can you hear it?
A little bit.
A little bit? Is it bad?
No, it's alright.
Sorry if you guys can hear my stomach growling. I'm a real hungry. Amanda's a hungry lady this morning. My tummy is so loud.